It'll never be the same because our brother's not here. DMX, you know, rest in peace. You know, we formed like a brotherhood. I didn't have to see him. I didn't have to call him. He didn't have to call me. When we saw each other though, it was that.
Right there.
It was that. It was Beyonce.
What made DMX stop recording and?
You know, I go to do the 6th album, and you know,
Jay Z became president.
Over. Yeah. You know, when he first got the job, he hit me with the call like, "Yo, dog, inmates is running the building." Like, "Yo, you good?" Finish the album, shoot the video. What happened? Niggas go on vacation and, you know, we don't know. What you mean you don't know?
Look, when Jay signed his contract, the big one was with Beyonce. When he signed that contract, the marriage contract, he got trophies. Now those fucking trophies, trophies came rolling in, buddy.
And Nas is finally saying out loud what so many folks in the music world have been hinting at behind closed doors. Jay Z and Beyonce aren't just competitive. They play hardball, and according to Nas, they don't hesitate to move shady when they feel their spot is being threatened. And yeah, that includes doing people dirty. Even someone like DMX. Everybody knows there was tension between DMX and Jay Z, but what people didn't see was how deep that tension really went. Behind the scenes, it got nasty.
To be my dog, you was in my left titty. You know, scream, ride or die. I thought you would die with me, you know.
DMX actually revealed that Jay Z sabotaged the release of his 6th studio album.
Sold millions and millions and millions of records. And then all of a sudden you slowed down. It just seemed like you just stopped. Was it the fact that you had a problem with Def Jam? Was it the producers? Was you with Rough Riders? What made DMX stop recording? And
he claimed Jay, who was running things at Def Jam at the time, purposely delayed the drop because he didn't want the smoke. DMX was still a major force, and Jay knew he could lose that sales battle, so instead of facing off, he allegedly blocked it. That delay wasn't just bad timing, it wrecked DMX's momentum and took him out of the race when he still had gas in the tank.
You know, like I said, I had the crazy track record, Def Jam, everything was good. You know, I go to do the 6th album, and you know,
Jay Z became president.
Over. Yeah. You know, when he first got the job, he hit me with the call like, "Yo, dog, inmates is running the building." Like, "Yo, you good?" Finish the album, shoot the video. What happened? Niggas go on vacation and, you know, we don't know. What you mean you don't know? How do you listen to a whole album, pick a single, shoot a video, then don't know? Okay, I see what's really good. You're trying to eliminate the competition. You know, because at first you retire, you know, then get me off the label, now you're back rapping again. Okay. It's all good. It's all good.
Now Nas is saying history repeated itself, and this time, he was the target. Back in 2018, Nas teamed up with Kanye West to release Nasir, an album that fans were hyped for. It was his big return after years without a major release. But the day after Nasir dropped, boom, Jay Z and Beyonce suddenly released a surprise album out of nowhere, Everything Is Love.
Around the same time, and then
They said Stillmatic came out December 18th. They said Jay released Unplugged. Then they said Street Disciple November 30th. Then Collision Course. Nas's greatest hits, American Gangster. Nasir, Everything Is Love. The Lost Tapes, Beyonce, Jay Z, Lion King.
And that's where it got stupid with the Lion King soundtrack. The Lion King soundtrack is when it gets kind of...
Not only that, they had a whole visual rollout ready. A slick, polished video shot in the freaking Louvre in Paris. Come on now. Who randomly drops a full album and luxury level video the day after your longtime rival makes a comeback? That ain't coincidence. That's cold-blooded strategy. Nas didn't miss the signs. He knew exactly what was going on. And what's even crazier, Nas wasn't even looking to beef. He was just out here trying to give fans the music they'd been waiting for. But Jay and Bey weren't about to let him shine without trying to block the light. Nas had already let the old beef go. He was done with the drama. But the Carters, they clearly weren't.
Look, when Jay signed his contract, the big one was with Beyonce. When he signed that contract, the marriage contract, he got trophies. Now those fucking trophies came rolling in, buddy. He started getting Grammys left and right, man. I mean, look, if you look at his career,
This guy. You're gonna let him say that?
Jay was getting Grammys.
he had one.
Exactly.
He had one.
And he ain't show up.
No, he has like 20 now.
Hold on.
He had like 18 since he been down. Look, he had one, bro. Hard Knock Life.
Hold on.
You're not wrong.
He was
At
one.
the same time,
After that, he's like drinking. His pictures things the cup.
Wait a minute. So you're saying the success is derived from the marriage?
I've absolutely been treated differently.
The accolades. Because he's no longer viewed as what, like a street or gangster rapper. Now he's viewed as a businessman, entrepreneur, family man.
And the biggest ones because of the position Beyonce's.
Oh, wow.
Right? You were connected to the biggest.
Jay got.
Oh, wow. So that's the deal.
Yeah, that's the deal. Like, the other ones didn't count as much as that one did.
Whether it was jealousy, insecurity, or straight up petty behavior, Nas is now pulling back the curtain on how Jay Z would quietly sabotage any artist he saw as a threat, all while hiding behind Beyonce's pristine public image and the protection of her massive fan base. And now DMX's name is coming back into the spotlight, all because fans are starting to remember how he was one of the few rappers bold enough to call Jay Z out to his face, while other artists were too scared to speak on Jay or Beyonce, like they were off limits. DMX didn't care. He kept it real. He wasn't scared to call things how he saw them, even when the whole industry stayed silent. But here's where it gets shady. After DMX tragically passed away in April 2021, Jay Z showed up on LeBron James's show and tried to rewrite the story. He talked about how DMX was too competitive, but claimed it was all love between them.
A competitive thing, but it was big love. He was so competitive with me. I never met a human being more competitive with me, like ever, not even my big brother.
Sounds sweet, right? But there's one major thing Jay conveniently forgot to mention. DMX had already said he wasn't the one who turned things into a competition. It was Jay who fired the first shot. Back in 2004, Jay Z stepped into a major power role as president of Def Jam, taking over after Lyor Cohen. That's when things started to shift. DMX had been the heart of Def Jam, holding it down with 5 straight #1 hits, 1 albums from '98 to 2003. But once Jay got the keys to the kingdom, DMX said Jay started interfering with his 6th album's release, delaying it and playing games behind the scenes. X believed Jay was purposely messing with his rollout just to slow him down. And now, Nas is saying Jay's been running that same playbook on everybody. The whole mess around Year of the Dog, again, wasn't just label drama. It had Jay-Z's fingerprints all over it, according to DMX. And here's the real kicker. All of it started because Jay decided to come out of retirement and didn't want any real competition standing in his way. That's when everything clicked for DMX. He saw through it. He realized Jay wasn't just making power moves, he was moving out of fear. According to X, Jay was deeply insecure and had no problem pushing people out of the picture if it meant shining solo. And DMX wasn't about to play along. That was the moment he made the decision to step away from Def Jam for good. But this wasn't just a personal clash between two legends. This was a pattern, a clear sign of how Jay-Z allegedly used his status in the industry to quietly sideline anyone who might take a little spotlight from him. And it didn't stop with DMX. Just look at Beanie Sigel, another artist who was once close to Jay but ended up caught in the same game. When someone started gaining too much traction, suddenly the support faded. Suddenly the rollout slowed. Suddenly the vibe changed. Nas is pointing out how this kind of move wasn't rare. It was the norm for Jay when he felt the heat coming. Nas isn't just talking. He's laying down receipts. He recently revealed that Jay-Z had a habit of dropping his albums right when Beanie Sigel had something new on the way. And it wasn't random. It was strategic. Jay would time his releases to completely overshadow Beanie's, making sure his shine never got too bright. Every time Beanie tried to build momentum, Jay swooped in with a bigger release to drown out the buzz.
In association, like you see, their kids even have Grammys. Like they don't sing yet. They don't sing. Right. They don't rap yet, and they already have Grammys. So it's like they give them this trophy so we secure that they're coming to the award show. It meant that much to the culture that they just gave them the things that would later to me, I didn't care about trophies. I said, I'll get the
And it wasn't just Beanie who got caught in the mix. Remember Cameron? That 106 and Park moment still lives rent-free in people's heads. Cam was set to have his spotlight interview, but Jay Z rolled up unannounced and basically hijacked the whole thing. Just popped in like a surprise guest and took over. No warning, no invite, just full takeover mode. It wasn't about support, it was about control. Jay never really wanted to go bar for bar when someone was heating up. Instead of battling it out lyrically, he'd pull these behind-the-scenes tricks to keep other artists from climbing too high. Quiet plays, calculated drops, all to make sure he stayed on top without having to fight fair. Now let's bring it back to Nas, because if anyone knows how deep this goes, it's him. Jay's been trying to outshine Nas for years. Every time Nas made a big move, Jay found a way to slide in right after. When Nas dropped Stillmatic in December 2001, a huge comeback moment, Jay popped up just 1 week later with his MTV Unplugged performance, grabbing all the headlines. Coincidence? Doubtful. Then again in 2004, when NAS dropped Street's Disciple, Jay pulled another slick move, teaming up with Linkin Park for Collision Course. Right on cue, Jay knew how to shift attention, and he made sure Nas never had the stage to himself. Let's talk patterns, because at this point, it's looking way too calculated to be a coincidence. In 2007, Nas released his greatest hits album, and boom, just days later, Jay Z dropped American Gangster, and the timing wasn't subtle. It was almost like Jay was watching the calendar, ready to pounce. Fast forward to 2018, Nas finally dropped his long-awaited Kanye-produced project, Nasir. Fans had been waiting years for that one. And guess what happened? Within 24 hours and not even a full day, Jay Z and Beyonce surprise released Everything Is Love, complete with a high-budget video for Apesh, filmed at the freaking Louvre in Paris. That's not random. That's precision. And if that wasn't enough, when Nas dropped the Lost Tapes 2, another project fans were hyped for, Jay and Beyonce came right back again, releasing The Lion King, The Gift just days later. That's 3 major moments where Nas tried to reclaim his space. And each time, the Carters swooped in right on cue. The pattern is way too specific to ignore, and Nas definitely doesn't buy the whole coincidence angle either. But here's where it gets even deeper. Nas has called out another layer to this drama, the way Jay Z uses Beyonce's superstar image as a kind of shield. According to Nas, Jay hides behind her clean, powerful brand every time he makes one of these low-key, calculated moves. And since no one wants smoke with Beyonce or her massive fan base, Jay stays protected while moving in silence. And Nas, he's never been the type to hold his tongue. One of the most explosive moments happened years ago when he appeared on Wendy Williams' radio show. That's when he let it all out. Nas didn't just blast Jay for shady business. He went even harder, exposing how Jay stayed silent about R. Kelly despite all the disturbing rumors that were already swirling. Nas claimed Jay knew what was going on, but chose to look the other way just to cash in on their Best of Both Worlds project. But it didn't stop there, not even close. Nas hinted that Jay's silence on R. Kelly wasn't just about protecting a business move or keeping the bag secure. He implied something way darker. That maybe Jay wasn't just standing on the sidelines, maybe he had a few secrets of his own he didn't want coming to light. And instead of clearing the air or speaking out, Jay-Z played his cards like a chess master. He pulled another calculated move, flipping the narrative completely. Rather than addressing his past connection to R. Kelly, he helped fund the Surviving R. Kelly documentary, the same doc that helped bring Kelly's crimes back into the spotlight and led to his eventual arrest. And just like that, Jay repositioned himself, no longer the quiet collaborator, but now the family man, Beyonce's loyal husband, proud father of 3, and polished symbol of black capitalism. But Nas isn't the only one raising eyebrows. 50 Cent has also been taking shots. He recently came forward and straight up said what a lot of folks have been whispering, that Jay uses Beyonce's image like a human shield. According to 50, their marriage looks more like a strategic business deal than a real relationship built on love. And that's not all. In another interview, 50 went even further, saying that most of Jay-Z's Grammy wins probably wouldn't have happened if he wasn't tied to Beyonce. That's a bold claim, but 50 didn't back down. He's basically calling out the entire setup, saying Jay's been stacking his legacy by writing off his wife's star power while dodging accountability at every turn. All of this circles right back to DMX, because X was one of the very first artists to see straight through Jay Z's slick moves and call him out with no fear. Just like Nas, DMX wasn't afraid to speak on the shady ways Jay used his power at Def Jam. And according to both of them, Jay wasn't out here building others up. He was quietly sidelining anyone who looked like real competition. DMX and NAS were loud about it. They weren't about to play nice or bow down just because Jay had deep industry ties. They made it clear they weren't kissing nobody's ring, no matter how powerful he was. And that kind of boldness, it built a strong, silent bond between them. There was serious mutual respect between NAS and X because they both saw the truth and weren't afraid to say it out loud, even when everybody else stayed quiet. They knew Jay wasn't just making music. He was making moves in the shadows, flipping switches behind the scenes while keeping his image squeaky clean. And most people were either too scared or too connected to say anything. So when DMX passed, it didn't just hit Nas on a personal level, it shook him because he lost one of the only people in the entire industry who really got it. Someone who saw what was going on behind the curtain and actually had the guts to speak on it. That loss was deeper than friendship. It was the loss of an ally in truth. Nas and DMX weren't just two rappers with beef, they were truth tellers who had the guts to pull back the curtain on what was really going down behind the scenes. They exposed the quiet power plays, the album sabotage, the sneaky release drops, and how Jay-Z's moves were far from accidental. From controlling the narrative to hiding behind Beyonce's polished image, Jay's game ran way deeper than most fans ever realized. But here's the real question. How much of this do people actually see? Do fans catch these patterns, or does the smoke and glamour keep the truth buried? What do you think about the way Jay handles competition in the industry? Was Nas right to speak out? Was DMX really one of the few brave enough to tell it like it is? Or is this just how the music game works at the top? And where does Beyonce fit into all of this? Is her image being used as a shield, or is she just doing her own thing while Jay moves in the background? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. I want to know what y'all think about this whole situation. If you're into stories like this, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss the next drop. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.